Greetings, adventurers of Vera. Welcome to Tavern Talk at the Golden Feather Tavern. I am Chibi. There is no Vertec today. He is on a quest, a greater quest, we'll call it. And we are the keepers of this fine establishment. The Golden Feather is open to all travelers to come and share their thoughts on inner workings of Vera over a nice tankard of mead, or in my case, a goblet of ale, and hot chocolate or any other delicious beverage of your choice. So raise your glass, pull up a chair, and we will delve into tonight's discussions. Today is the 18th of March, 2024. This is episode 11. Game immersion, fighter theory craft, and looking for group. Tonight's topics will include touching on some of your thoughts when it comes to development updates and developer things that they add in. Sometimes it's quality of life things. Sometimes it's just a story arc that touches home really nicely, or something that's just designed really well. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. And then we've been asked by Hydromancer to discuss and speculate fighter abilities, as after all, that is this month's live stream development update. And I am so very excited for that. And finally, wow, you guys, I can't English. Finally, we are going to be talking about groupfinder stuff as requested by Chaffee J. If you would like us to discuss something and you are a subscriber, please make sure that you have your everything updated. Thank you so much, Hack Up, for the subscription with the Prime Gaming. Welcome in. Welcome to the patron chat. And yeah, so make sure you hop on down to the tavern area, the patrons only chat, and let us know what you would like us to talk about. So first things first. This week's topic, we were talking about how, Ashes is going to be a highly detailed game. And the thought came to me wondering what was something that a game has done that made you feel like you were really immersed in that game. And one example that I found was somebody showcased a little bit of a game called, oh my gosh, what is it called? Monster Hunter. There we go. Monster Hunter. And in Monster Hunter, there was these cats that were kneading the dough and were working to put it in the oven. And then it was just a really nice little thing. Let me see if I can find the video. If not, here is our Twitter. Actually, here's the video. I'm gonna go ahead and paste that in there. So there's the video. Wait, that's the Twitter video. This is a short. There we go. Oh, I think one of them is delayed. But thank you so much. So this is the actual short. The first one was the Twitter post. So what are your thoughts on in-game details? Is there a time that you can remember where the devs put time and effort into something and it made an impact on your gameplay? And the short was a really good example of that for Monster Hunter. And I've seen a few of these across a few other games as well, such as just the way that the story is built, right? So World of Warcraft, I think, has a really good way of telling stories. They are a very story-driven thing. So is Final Fantasy 14. Both of those are very, very story-driven. Final Fantasy 14 more heavily story-driven. But Sir Unsington says, I'll never forget the first time a tree killed me in Valheim. I loved it. Nucleartango says, Hellblade, Tarkov Hunt, Showdown, very immersive. Very, very immersive. I'm gonna lower this for myself. Ooh, there we go. I feel like I'm yelling and I apologize. But we also put this up in our in our Discord. So if you've not joined our Discord yet and you would like to, here's our Discord. I feel League lore and cinematics are huge too. Yeah, League and Blizzard are pretty good at doing a lot of those cinematic things. I saw somebody ask me if I had new hair. I have had purple hair for about a month or so now, but everybody started noticing last week. So last stream. But I'm glad you guys like it. Let's see, in the community topics area, let's see, special dev touches. I started going out of my way to kill graylings and fallen trees, and even chopped down an oak tree with multiple logs, as oak trees require the upgrade axe to hit. Okay. I'm gonna see if I can. Can I make this larger? I don't want to. Okay. I can't figure out how to adjust that to go larger, so I'm just gonna make it larger for myself. So, a few things that the community has said in our Discord is Basil says, I love things like that. They really add the immersion, makes things boring, something boring come really alive. And then I asked for an example, and he said, I'm trying to remember the last time I saw something that immersive, but my brain's blank, probably because I only play MMOs and usually they don't get that in depth. But if I was in that game and saw a cat baking, I would for sure stand there and just watch. I'd drop everything I was doing. I feel like I'm just used to NPCs having points, action A and B, and the cat had A, B, C, and D. And I like that. I mean, we kind of saw this already with Intrepid, right? You go into the town and the NPCs are mulling about, talking and carrying things around. I love it when you put in something for yourself to get processed by an NPC, and they start working on it right there, and it makes it just very much more alive. Like things are actually happening and not just a little like bar that goes across, the screen. And then Sir Onsington, who's also here in chat, says, I've loved combos in games since I played Killer Instinct on the Super Nintendo. Running huge combos and breaking the combos of my enemies thrilled me completely. That said, I really loved the attention the game Last Oasis put into their combat system. Real-time blocking left, right, up, and thrust, and having it feel extremely fluid and responsive brought a meaningful and fast-paced combat to the game that I've really missed. A newish game, Myth of Empires, rolled out recently with similar combat style, but it's clunky and doesn't feel like LO did. I think Lost Oasis, yes. I also really loved Elder Scrolls games like Skyrim and Morrowind. Not only were the games done overall really well, but I really loved the alchemy in them. Quite simple, eating raw ingredients, mixing ingredients to discover new effects was refreshing for those days. Eating a new ingredient was exciting the first time it fell into your inventory. And this kind of reminds me of things, like when you're playing games like Final Fantasy, I want to say 15, something like that, where he's like, that's it, I've come up with a new recipe. Like I really liked that, although that did really get irritating after a moment. And then, I've mentioned this on Breath of the Wild and stuff like that, there's you put in the ingredients and he's just kind of like holding it all, and then you can just drop it into the pot, and it does its little thing as it cooks, and it makes noises to let you know if it's successful or not, and then you get the different ingredients that way, and that's been a fun way of learning how to cook something. So yeah. Love that cooking system. Yeah, same. And also, I meant to do this earlier. Cheers, by the way, for the sub. So thank you so very, very much for your patronage, kind sir. Okay. the next thing that I wanted to bring up, and this is actually going to be next week's topic, so I'm just bringing it up here. We're not going to talk about it today necessarily, but it's on mini maps and being able to toggle them. And I put this on Twitter already, so here's that. I like BDO's build on RNG overall, till of course they've ruined it with P2 pay to convenience. Yeah, have you all seen that ring? Have you all seen that ring? I don't know. But let's see. We all know that Ash as a creation intends to have a fully customizable UI. With that being said, this week's question that we'll be discussing next week: how much info would you like to have in your minimap? Do you prefer to click off options you don't want to see? Do you want to be able to hide it altogether? Kind of getting a feel for that. So actually, I misspoke. Not next week, but 2 weeks from now. We'll be back in April. Hello, Ashes and Air. Welcome in. If you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. But yeah, so that's a couple of examples. We do have this already in our Discord as well. If you want to answer this, we have a community section. So make sure when you join the Discord, you grab the community role on the onboarding. If you've already been a part of our Discord and you don't have access to this area, be sure to check out the channels and roles area to grab your community role. You get my drift for the Tildar. All right, that being said, I'm gonna just kick us right on into fighter abilities. Oh man, what's happening? Never subscribed with Prime Gaming. They've subscribed for 28 months. Oh my gosh. Currently on a 3-month streak. Cheers to that, Never. Thank you so much. Also, if anybody's wondering, I made a little mix of a fireball and apple, spiced apple pie alcohol. I don't know what it is. It's something Vertec brought home, and I've made adult apple cider. So that's what I'm sipping on today. Get out of my head. I'm drinking fireball right now. Nice. A virtual PVX of drinks. There you go. The nice PVE of the apple orchard mixed with the PvP of the fireball. You did happen to VC. I shall bring you down. I am so sorry for that. Let me pull that up. There's so many things going on my screen right now. Let me tell you, friend. Doop a doop a doop. All right, popping you in 3, 2, 1. Hello, hello.
Hey, Chibi.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good.
You here to talk
I'd say for the most part.
Yeah? You here to talk some fighter?
Oh yeah, fighter, game immersion, I'm down.
Very excited. Is there anything for game immersion before we move over to fighter that kind of stuck out to you?
I think attention to detail is key, like little things, especially when it comes to sound design. I really love really good sound design. And like some examples, when I mentioned Hunt Showdown earlier, there's like these environmental hazards like broken glass, hanging chains, and when your character moved through them, the chains would like rattle and you could hear the metal clanking, and that whole thing builds a lot of that immersion for me.
I definitely agree with that. I can feel that way with Dead by Daylight too. Every time I'm trying to adjust a generator and I miss something and it makes that loud noise, like something inside me just and then I get so nervous. I'm like, oh, I'm definitely gonna die now. So I get that. It definitely, like, the sound can really help make or break a moment for sure.
Yeah, and it's so small, like, I don't know, for me, when you have that level of detail and attention to detail, such as like in the recent live stream, the dehorned Minotaur had a belt with his horns strapped to him.
Yeah.
So you know that he's still holding on to his banishment, and that little, it's those little details that help add so much for me.
Yeah. Sorry, I told Sir Unsington to spill the tea because he won the Champion of the Hill with the teapot, and he said, "No tea left. It's in the eyes of my enemies." um, but yeah, no, I think that's actually a great segue. I really do feel like Intrepid is doing a good job of really bringing in those systems, you know, and having that attention to detail. I think it may have been you, if not, it may have been Hydromancer, but we discussed previously about even things like the bugs around the lights, and there's just these little tiny details. There's the audible sound of the ocean as you're coming over the hill before you see the ocean. Um, these kind of things, I honestly did not expect for alpha. I was not ready for that until probably closer to beta 2. And they're already in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And like there's even that little detail of like when he's running out of the town and the sound of his footsteps changes when he goes from the
Yes.
traveled road to the grass. And it's like you guys didn't have to put that in, but like I don't know why I noticed that, but it's that
Right.
little detail that makes you really feel like you're in a living world. You are your character, and that feels pretty good.
Honestly, I don't know if I'm alone on this, but I'm the type of person, I listen for that. I pay attention to where I'm walking, and I pay attention to where I'm walking next, and I listen to see if the footfalls change or not. It's not like it's gonna break
Mhm.
anything for me, but it's something that like my brain goes, "Oh, I wonder." Did they
Yeah,
do
and
this?
it adds that visual and memory like reinforcement. It's like, yeah, I'm in this world. I'm having a good time, and it's overall really good feeling.
Yeah, Sir Huntington says, true, the pitter patter of leather boot, and if you're lucky, a plate boot after you change your armor. Um, and then also
Awesome.
ashes will do
If you
better.
could
Yeah.
hear your, I think even WoW had this back in the day, where like if you were wearing mail or like plate armor
Mm-hmm.
compared to someone wearing leather, as you just ran around and walked around the world, it would change the audio. You could hear your like plates like shaking and your mail armor like moving around. It was pretty immersive, even
Do
for
you
2004.
think do you think people who are trying to be really good at PvP then would favor something that's quieter?
Um, I guess that depends on how Intrepid goes about choosing whether sounds are client side or
Mm,
server side.
what do you
So
think they should be? Do you think they should be client side or do you think they should be server side?
I think it would be pretty immersive and cool if it was server side. Like having that extra, like you can hear boots,
Yeah.
like you can hear the plate boots coming down the road before they turn a bend or something. And you're like, oh, there's some heavy armored guys coming. That would be really cool.
I agree. And I'm sorry if I seemed like rude or anything. I'm looking around for a pen because you just gave me an idea for another question, and I want to grab this question while it's in my mind.
Yeah, you're fine. It's your show.
It's your show. Do whatever you want. That actually gave me another idea because again, we play games like Overwatch and other MMO or not MMO but PvP type games where I don't know if people really realize this or not, but you do hear those things. Like I was able to get a Sombra one time because I could hear her.
Yeah, you could hear her little footsteps. They're pretty fast paced and they're coming around the corner, and you're like, oh, she's coming from this flank. And, it's that little audio cue,
Yeah.
puts you further into the world and gets you more immersed. So
Yeah.
yeah, those are the main bits. Is I just want to like I think level of detail and audio design is really huge for game immersion.
Yeah. There we go. I have this ready. And this will come out after the fighter because I want to save this one. I want to see what happens with fighter before I ask the next question because I'm so excited. We're gonna be back after the fighter stream, so can't
Oh
wait.
yeah, I'm
Um,
excited for the fighting stream as it will likely be my
yeah,
main.
so excited. Real quick, Sir Ensington says, depends on the archetype. Map charging juggernauts don't care if you see them or not. Hello, Raka, welcome in. Also, the WoW Rogue, you hear that stealth bow, and you instantly arcane blast. Yeah, I think that's also the important thing, right? You hear certain elements in World of Warcraft, and you just know, like, you hear that noise as someone stealths, and you're like, fuck, I'm about to die, I think. That's what I think, at least.
There's a
Whenever I
rogue
hear
about.
it. Yeah, there's a rogue somewhere around here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and take us on over to the fighter topic, because we've been asked to talk about fighter, and I'm going to just adjust what you guys see real quick. So give me a second. But all in all, the suggestion was talking about fighter abilities and augment speculation. Now, augment speculations, ooh, that one is a little tough, I think, because I think I have an idea of how augments are going to work. But then sometimes I think maybe I misunderstand. I don't know.
Yeah, they're tricky to speculate on because we don't have much information, right? We just have like, oh
Right.
yeah, the rush ability might be an instant teleport if you're mage. Um, I think I was speaking with, I think it was Favor over in Nexus.
Uh-huh.
And we were discussing some fighter abilities and how like with cleric death augments, like around death and life magic, it would be really cool to see your abilities like put a debuff on enemies that like maybe it's like an anti-heal, or in League of Legends it's called grievous wounds, and
Okay.
it decreases the amount of healing that they can receive by like a certain percentage.
Okay.
And so that's something I would like to kind of toy around with, is like being that anti-heal debuffer as a fighter. You rush in on the back line, you debuff them all, and then maybe your mage or your rogue blows up the back line with you. And I think that would be a really fun combo.
Yeah, I could see that as well. Right, let me know if this is too tiny. I can definitely swap to a different overlay. It's easy to augment one ability. Yeah. But it's more like, how does that augment work, right? How exactly does that augment work? Because I get ideas sometimes where I'm like, oh, if you mix a ranger with a cleric, maybe you can do holy damage with your arrows. But then sometimes I get things where maybe it's not as black and white, as I think it is. Maybe it's either a lot less or a lot more. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I'm gonna try this one. Go ahead, Sai.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it's really hard because we don't know what all the classes currently do. So how can we confirm what the combination of two archetypes do? It's kind of difficult in this sense, but I think that it's mostly gonna like your current abilities will remain the same. They'll just have different effects, is the way I understand it.
Right, I could see that.
So like, for example, with the fighter, we've seen that they have that whirlwind spin ability, and it's like, okay, if I combine this with, let's say, the mage, maybe it turns into like a fire enhanced whirlwind. Who knows?
Right.
But
I like that. That's a good idea. Oh, I just had this. There we go. I'm gonna adjust this a little bit as we talk. Sorry, guys.
I like what Ashes of Nair says. The cleric ranger should shoot people to heal them. Arrow to the face, be healed. It reminds me of Anna in Overwatch, shooting people to heal them.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I don't know why this is not moving from. I give up. All right. Oh, you know what? It's because of this. I gotcha.
The funny meme game from that would come from you accidentally turn on your wrong arrows, because we know that the ranger has like those different ammunition types. Maybe one is the healing. You hit the wrong button, and then instead of healing your friend, you're just shooting them.
Hey, Peon.
And you're like, oh, sorry, I thought I had my heal arrows on.
Oh my gosh. And then you turn red because you hurt your friend.
You monster.
Is this easier for you guys to see? Is this better? I'm using, I kind of set this up on the fly. So I'm using this one. Much better. Okay. I'm gonna, just because privacy reasons, I'm gonna just do this. Oops. Wrong thing. I'm gonna do this. There we go. And then I will just pull it all the way down here at the bottom. There we go. All right, cool. So, fighter, right? Fighter is an archetype, and Ash is a creation, in case that you did not know that. Fighters will have a momentum mechanic right here. Fighters will have a momentum mechanic that scales resistances and mobility proportional to damage taken and dealt. And I really enjoyed Steven's breaking news, right? I really enjoyed Steven's description on this. The fighter is really a mobile physical DPS, so they're able to traverse the battlefield. They're able to close the gap quickly. They're able to deal damage from a physical perspective. The fighter is in your face. You try to get away from me, I'm going to close that gap. I'm going to deal with this burst damage, or I'm going to deal this burst damage to you, and it really doesn't matter if I'm behind you or if you're bleeding or if I've snared you per se. I'm there. I'm in your face. I'm doing this damage. Is essentially, I like this description. But what are your thoughts on this in general?
Yeah, as a melee DPS like enthusiast myself, that's exciting. I love being able to, like, they're providing the tools for me to get in the face, as he mentions there, like, I'm in your face, I'm doing this damage, and scaling that based off of like damage taken. It's like, I know that maybe once I hit a certain threshold of my HP, like maybe I just took big damage, now I'm gonna have this big boost of mobility, and then I can use that moment to capitalize and, you know, close the gap, get in there. And that type of gameplay, like choosing your moments, it's kind of like when you have to hit your ultimates in Overwatch at the right time. Yes. Knowing that moment and then capitalizing on that opportunity feels really good.
Yes.
And it kind of seems like that's the gameplay loop that they're going with for the fighter.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And it's one of those, like, it's very punishing, right? So if you miss your ultimate in Overwatch, I mean, depending on your ultimate, it's really punishing, right?
Yeah, you're going another 3 to 5 minutes without having your ultimate.
Yep. Sir Insington says, damn, they're gonna be the blob. Punch the blob in the face. It just starts sucking on your hand. Like welcome in, Basil. Is your lighting off? You look brighter. I also have a few things that is just weird. Yeah, it's hard to explain. Fighter versus Rogue will be interesting. Rogue, also welcome in, Paranaut. Rogue should be able to stun lock anyone. Also, with blunt weapons, hopefully being plus stun duration will be extra. Yeah. I could see that. That'd be interesting. If you don't focus them, you're screwed. If you focus them, you have their ire in the battlefield. Wonder what the anti-fighter archetype will be. I mean, that's a good question, because it feels like, you know, a fighter is almost like a direct, I don't know if that feels like that to anybody else, but a direct opposite from the ranger, right? You can leave, you can run away, but I'm still going to follow you. I'm still going to get you with this burst damage, essentially.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm finding that I think a bard I think the bard is going to be key to like defending the backline, like especially in that little video that Steven gave us of like that pushback. I don't know if it's obviously not going to be that aggressive in the game, but having that pushback, and it's probably going to more likely be like a slow or maybe a you can't come within this circle type of thing. This is my no square. But I think the bard, I think that's going to be like a key component into defending your backline.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Peon says, how many fighters will it take to kill Chibi is the real question. I'm like, oh gosh. That's not the right question.
If it's me, it's one.
It's okay. We all know I suck at PvP anyway, so we're good. Give me.
You're not that bad.
I am.
No, you're fine.
Maybe I just
actually you play Overwatch. You're okay.
Maybe I just make you think I'm not that bad, so you'll go easy on me or hard on me. Wait, that doesn't make any sense. Never mind. Ignore me. I thought I was being clever. I indeed was not being clever. Classic man, right? Jeez. I was teasing and saying Vertec ruined my setup before you left. Hagop says Alpha 2 will help with everyone's expectations on class combinations and if ability synergies. Tank cleric, frontliner cleric. Yeah, exactly. I would love to see how that goes. But no, to be honest, we adjusted my lighting and it's like basically almost on the roof at the moment, so I'm too short and I haven't had the moment to bring it back down. It'll be fixed by the time you guys see us again in 2 weeks. But I just kind of wanted to bring this up and show that we don't really have much information at all on Fighter. And a lot of people have been like, we already know about Fighter, da-da-da-da-da. Okay, if we know about Fighter, let me show you this. All right, let's go to Cleric real quick. This is what we know about Fighter. Compare that to what we know about Cleric, right? Look at all these skills.
But Chibi, we got a Cleric live stream. It's not fair comparison yet.
It's not fair comparison. Well, that's what I'm saying. We haven't even had a Fighter live stream. All we had is one guy swinging a weapon around, showing off how the weapons work. We haven't had a true fighter yet. We know Rush. That's about it. And Whirlwind. But those are the only two things that we kind of know about. Will do, Peon. Will do. Would you be okay with Fighter being gear dependent, like squishy mid-game and amazing with work put into it and large investment on items made? And that's to you, Tango.
Yeah, I think that's probably the ideal situation for most classes, right? Like, I think that some should be pretty gear dependent. And I think Steven's already mentioned this, that it's going to make up for like 50% or 40% of your power.
Mm-hmm.
And so ultimately, I think it's pretty ideal that you keep that balance in the game of being gear dependent, but also having that other 50% that's skill dependent. Like my inputs make that big difference.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. I think having someone that can get in your face and be very mobile and deal burst damage needs to be somewhat squishy.
Yeah, I agree. I also really like how if you that they have a role list here. I don't know when this was from. Group Dynamics blog. I'll have to look at that next. But Bard and Cleric support. Sure, I could see that. Damage, unsure for the summoner, and then tank for the tank secondary. And so that kind of brings back the age-old conversation, like Steven said, if you are a tank, like tank primary, tank secondary, it's always so silly to say that together, then, you're going to be the most, like, main tank kind of tank, and nobody else can really main tank comparatively. But you can still tank by being a fighter X tank, right? But I wonder how this fighter X cleric will be support. I'm curious on how that's gonna work. I kind of more so imagine cleric to be self-healing as a augment, and not so much a support role.
Are you saying like as a like secondary archetype?
Yeah.
They'll be like, okay. I tend to agree. I think that the cleric's probably gonna have a lot of that self healing. So like, uh, I so from a League of Legends player, I hate self healing. Life Leech and Omnivamp has made that game really hard to play. And so I don't love the idea of it purely being the self-healing augment system. Like I said, I want to see it more of that death magic of like I apply debuffs to others with my magic would be more ideal for me.
Yeah. And I could see that with the bard as well. The bard being one of those, if I hit you, I give you a debuff of some sort. Maybe if there's like a I don't know if that's a fighter thing or if that's maybe like a barbarian thing, but maybe I give you a buff if you're on my team, or maybe a debuff, like a demoralizing buff. But other than that, fighter, true fighter, fighter mage, arcane. So that'd be interesting. Fighter ranger, that would also be interesting. I wonder how that would happen to cross over. I'd be curious to see what that combination looks like. Fighter rogue, that could be cool. Fighter summoner, I'm also curious to see how that one is. Maybe you can summon a weapon, although I kind of already thought that would be really cool for rogue. Summon, have like these dagger summons that you could have. That'd be neat. But I don't know.
Yeah,
It's like,
blade collar type. Mm-hmm.
yeah, exactly. It's really hard to, say. But I know that like, at one point in here, he has fighters may have debuffs that can reduce healing received on a target. And let me see if I can find where that is. There we go. Fighters may have debuffs that can reduce healing received on a target. And this was from 2023, so it's relatively recent. The fighter archetype will include maneuverability and closing the gap mechanics to enable the fighter to quickly traverse distances on the battlefield. I could probably see summoner or maybe mage blinking forward, the age-old example of augments instead of dashing forward. Penumbral says, while self-healing, who needs a trinity when everyone can do everything? And that's fair. That's I mean, I can definitely heal you better than you can heal yourself. But yeah. The other thing I wanted to talk about. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, if you play Dragonflight, the warrior tank, if you're playing the tank art class in WoW, it literally you couldn't die. You could go in, like, even while leveling, you could run into like a point of interest, leash every mob, and just not die. Because you had self mitigation, you had so much self mitigation and self healing that it just didn't matter. And so, yeah, when the game gets to that point, I think there's a problem.
Yeah. And I don't think that every single one of them should be self-healing. I feel like some of them should make sense. Like, for example, I don't mean self-healing in the way that Overwatch is doing it, right? I mean, if I hit you with something and I deal X amount of damage, let's say it's some sort of a dot that I can apply. Part of that dot over time will give me a little bit of healing over time, just a little bit, maybe enough to like keep me alive enough, but not the same way as having an actual healer do that would be. And those might have more of a cooldown to them, right? Where it's more of a I need some health to try and stay alive until that healer can finish casting kind of moments. But I do know that they have a lot of balancing to do going forward.
Yeah, it's just my main concern with the cleric augments is kind of like what Peon was saying. I don't want to see every archetype with the cleric secondary, and I feel like if all the cleric augments do is add self healing, you're gonna run into the situation where every person you fight has self healing, and then it turns into what I like to call a meatball comp, where everybody just bunches up and just overwhelms you because they're healing so much and you can't stop them. They're just these giant meatballs rolling over you, and you can't do anything.
Yeah. Sorry, Korean. I gotta fix that. I typed too fast.
Yeah, Korean.
Korean is our guest tomorrow, by the way.
Yay!
Yeah, very excited for that. Catching up on chat real quick. Peon says, I don't want to see every archetype with a cleric secondary. I think meaning healing. Although I was saying I thought it'd be kind of amusing to see how a fighter could be an off healer with the cleric secondary. Spoon Killer, great vid. I dressed up as him on Halloween once, said Raka. Paranaut says, or whoever has the best mobility skill, exactly. Sirensington says those two skills on fighter just look like death. I rush you, stagger, and damage. I like meatballs in real life. I hope Steven doesn't change this. Kurian says cleric augments have been confirmed to not give any group healing capabilities, only self-sustain. Yeah, that's what we were talking about a little bit, is that I could see fighter more so with a secondary, because up here it shows that oops, maybe down here, support. And I could see more of a cleric secondary for a fighter being self-sustaining instead of like healing. That's why I hope for that secondary are not that useful. Secondaries are not that useful. I see. You're hoping secondaries are not that useful. I hope that it augments it to make it interesting and maybe do something different. I think that would be cool. It's a fine line. Healers need to be fun and strong, or no one will play one. And the flip side is make them OP, and that's all we will see. Yeah. I think also having diverse types of healing is important too, because if it's just only one type of way of healing, it's just like, you know. And there's the age old, when we saw it with WoW, I think Holy Priest does the most single target healing and raid wide healing, like super OP healing. But then you have your Disc Priest, and a few of the other classes have their healing. But with the way that Intrepid is going, I'm hoping that the secondaries will do a lot more to change how your healing is as a cleric primary. Because that would be cool. I would like to be able to spec a little bit more into being like having an option. Do I want to be the raid wide healer? Do I want to be the tank healer? You know, what is my focus and where do I fall into line with all of that? And I feel like that's the same question, right, with all of the other classes. Steven will make sure the cleric is OP. How many times were they nerfed in A1? That's fair. Why
Not
isn't there
enough.
right? Why isn't there a priest class in this game? It's because every class can wear anything and use any weapon. So honestly, could wear See, Sir Unsington said the same thing as me.
Isn't one of the classes called priest or like arc priest or something like that? I recall there being one.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's like high priest or something like that. Just priest. I don't know.
Although I really do hope that there's some way that they prevent healers from wearing heavy armor, because in New World, I don't know how many people have played New World, but there's actually an exploit that happened that made it to where, like, if you put this certain gem in your gear, it like reduced the damage you took by like a drastic amount. I'm talking like I used to hit the healers for like 700 damage, and now I'm hitting them for 79. So it's literally like 100% damage nerf. I don't know how they managed to break that, but there's these certain wars that I would get into that all the healers were just wearing heavy plate armor because there was no like downside to it at the time, and it was like, oh, I finally closed the gap. I'm on their healers, but now I'm hitting them from literally nothing. So I hope that there's a way, since every class can wear every gear and every class can use every weapon. Yeah. I hope that Intrepid finds that line to ensure that healers aren't just walking tanks.
Yeah, I agree. Now, the next thing I kind of want to touch on a little bit more of the excitement for me. This is from Roshan on the 14th. Says fighter is currently the plan for the next live stream, which is why we're talking about it, happening this month. Area of the game we want to show is the Oakenbane Keep. Very excited for that.
Interesting.
Yes. And since sometimes people ask things like, what will the flow of the stream be and how much gameplay versus slides versus talking. The plan is for this one to be most similar to the Ranger update stream that happened in December. So yeah, I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, it'll be pretty nice to see the updates that they've made to Oakenbane. Like we'll get to actually, as people who are copium addicts and watch this game constantly,
Yeah,
see the difference from the tank live stream that we got like over a year ago to now. And I'm hoping that the mobs are better, like the NPCs sitting out there aren't so stale.
yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, to be fair though, that was probably a really early build. It looks like the mobs have gotten better in general.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why it'll be really exciting to see the progress that they've made.
Yeah. In Dark Age of Camelot, it was the job of the tank to use guard abilities and peel for the healers. That's what I want to see. If unmolested healers should be strong. Hi, Ashesner. Welcome in. I just heard another streamer complaining about why they didn't go down into it. I guess they'll be eating those words. Yeah, maybe. Sorry, you were gonna say something else.
Oh, I was gonna say they've talked about points of interest just being populated with different things depending on the current state of the world. So it might be interesting. Maybe we see Oakenbane and it's not those ghostly soldiers. Maybe it's something more further down in the story arc, or maybe earlier in the story arc that we're fighting different mobs in there. That'd also be pretty interesting to see.
True. Yeah.
The dynamic point of interest.
Yeah, I would agree with that because I think I don't know. I'm just really excited for any and all updates, to be fair. It was really cool seeing them wear the what was it, Titan bark or something like that armor, the bark armor.
When he got the final piece from the last guy at the end.
Yeah, that was really cool. As a feral druid in a WoW classic, you can shift heal about 4 to 5 times then your and you sacrifice your DPS. Yeah, exactly. Trust me, I've been looking for that, and you're right. I've seen none for healer mage. For what? Oh, okay. Yeah, gotcha. All right. So the next topic that I want to talk about is LFG, looking for group. Group finding mechanics. What kind of finding group mechanics do you want to see in Ashes? We already know what the answer is for what Steven's going to do, so I'm going to get to that in just a second. For example, should it be old school where everyone is yelling in LFG chat? Should it be something like Final Fantasy XIV where you can post your group in a party finder window? Should it be something like WoW where you can just queue? We all know how Steven feels about group finders. Does not like it. And a lot of people, I'm going to just take the older gamers' word on this, say that once the queue was brought into the picture, a lot of it ended up kind of dead, right? You would just queue, you would go fight, and then you would just not really talk to anybody. You would stop making friends. You wouldn't look for people and always see that one person looking for a group and then end up being friends with them, things like that. But real quick, just in case anybody was wondering what Ashes of Creation is intending to do, here's the link to the wiki, and I'm going to read it. It says there will not be a generalized group finder in Ashes of Creation. Instead, bulletin boards are used to encourage localized grouping. Before I give my full answer on this, though, what are your thoughts, Nuclear?
I think the standard queue, you get thrown into an instance lobby and then you never talk to those people again. You probably won't even talk to them during the occasion. Just needs to be completely omitted. Mm-hmm. However, I do like the idea of localized group postings, and what I mean by localized is maybe your node or maybe your biome. Biome might be a bit too large. We don't know yet, but yeah. I do think keeping that local to your node, having a job posting boards next to the commissions, would be a good immersive way to have those group finders. You can be like, hey, I just posted, I want to go raid Carfin. Go sign up on the town board. While you're in the middle of town. I think that type of looking for a group system would be well appreciated, and additionally, I think it'd just be convenient overall without overstepping the old gamers, stepping on the old gamers' toes, I guess.
Yeah. And real quick, I just want to add in as well that bulletin boards are available within nodes and player taverns. So if you guys have ever wanted to continue stacking reasons, I think I think it'd be fun to make a video called all the reasons why you should have a tavern in your node. And I'm just going to list all of the things that we could bring to the table as a tavern. And at the end, be like, vote for having a golden feather tavern in your node today. I think that'd be fun. But let's see. Do no LFG. No LFG game should be a community-based game, going out, finding people, not just a click of a button and boom, randos in a dungeon. Peon says, I like a global chat, and a building reputation or a bad one. And building a reputation and or a bad one. Good or bad one, got it. I don't mind Arc Age, where you just go to where you want to go, grind and see who else is there and join them. That kind of ended up being like a World of Warcraft classic, right? You just go to the what's it called? That like grouping of 4 dungeons that range from like 15 to 30, basically. And it's both for Horde and Alliance. And it's like these
Taverns of Time.
No, I'm talking about like the original World of Warcraft, not I don't know what's anything else is.
Trying to think.
It's the C word, not cavern though. It was like the monastery. Yeah, Scarlet Monastery.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's what I was talking about.
Different wings.
My brain was like the Scarlet Cathedral. I don't mind Arcade, where you just go where you want to, and that's pretty much what was happening in the Scarlet Monastery. You would just show up, and people would be like, "Hey, can you fill this for us? Can you fill that for us?" You know. Thornsington says, "Play mage tank for looking for group." Bochi says billboards are smart and immersive, and I agree. Looking for group will be in Discords. I agree with that as well. Like people will be like looking for a group, right? But like if my guild is offline because I'm that one person that is up till like 3 o'clock in the morning and everybody else is asleep, gotta look for a group somehow.
I do. Like people say that like they don't want looking for group, and I disagree with that. You do want looking for group, but you just don't want it in the sense that you group in with a bunch of randos and you never meet those people again.
Yeah.
And that's why I say it should be localized. But I do think that like having that system in there is overall beneficial, because even if you don't have it in the game, what the players are going to do is they're going to go create their own Ashes, let's just say Ashes server looking for group. Yeah. And there's just going to be a whole Discord. There's going to be 100 channels, and you're just going to hop in there, and there's going to be like people doing Carfin, people doing Oak and Bane, whatever, and you're just going to pop in and be like, hey, do you guys need a XYZ person?
Yeah, exactly. Basil says, I feel like it will never be as it was back in the day. There was no social media, so being social in a game was most people's social itch. Now we have so many ways to stay connected. It wouldn't be the same anymore, in my opinion. And that's a really good point. I think that's a good like discussion to have on its own. Is before there wasn't a Facebook, before there wasn't a Discord, you had Trello, but you had to be invited to Ventrilo. You had a few of those other ones, but you had to be invited to those. You had to go to your local hobby shop to find a D&D game. You couldn't just pop on your computer and be like roll20.com, it's just our society has changed. And I do agree that I don't like the anonymity or the lack of interaction that the queuing LFG had versus the talking and looking for people. I mean, heck, I was looking for stuff in trade chat all the time, and this was back when I was 13. So this is like at least over 10 years ago, right before I think Cataclysm, maybe is around Cataclysm, but Basically I was looking for more herbs because I was trying to make something, and this other person was looking for something. We ended up just trading stuff a lot of the time because they had a plethora of this and they needed that, and they were just, their other profession just wasn't that, they needed something else from it. So it accidentally worked out really well, and that kind of left a memory for me of like, oh, that's my friend that I trade this with because they always have that and I always have this, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I just really
Yeah,
liked
and
that.
that's yeah, I agree. It's like some of the friends that I've made over the years were just randomly found.
Yeah.
But putting myself, like, I had to put myself into that social situation in order for that to happen. But those are some of the most fond memories that I have, is meeting randoms, and then now they're my best friend like years later. So
Right.
that's why I think we do want looking for group. We just want it to be a social experience and not a I queue up, I hop in with those random people. I never talk to them again. They might as well just been bots. Like, I didn't have to talk to them. They didn't like do anything out of the ordinary.
Right.
Your experience, you might as well have been playing a solo player game, and that's not what anybody wants when they're looking to play an MMO.
Right. Querian says, okay, so the notice boards are a cool mechanic, but it actually requires people to go to the board to find the group, then physically go to the area. It brings the community together, unlike the current LFG's work. And I like that as well. That's kind of what we were touching on a moment. All the reasons why it sounds like it needs to be its own jingle too. Yeah, there you go. While no chat being a thing, I feel like people will just spam that rather than a BB. I'm not really sure what a BB is.
Bulletin board.
Bulletin board, got it. Depends on implementation, I suppose. True.
I I think you should have like a I think you should have access to the bulletin board, like with a hotkey, while you're within that node. Like, maybe it's in
Yeah.
your node menu, and then, but in order to actually join the group or request to join the group, maybe then you have to go to the board. That could be a potential
I like
solution.
that. Yeah, to be able to post one, you have to go to a bulletin board within the node or a tavern to access it. You could just pull it up. But I feel like you'd still have to be in a node to be able to pull it up. You couldn't just pull it up in the wild
Exactly.
unless there was a tavern in the wild. Which is probably where the tavern distinction comes in. Yeah, Raka says maybe on town squares too. Exactly. And Raka says, I would like to see bulletin boards and taverns, but you can post your class level dungeon you'd like to find a group for. And it's going to be in the tavern as of 2017 at least, but I'm not really sure what all is going to be on there. There's more to read here. Have you talked about optimization types like general guild world? No, we haven't talked about that yet. But feel free to drop that in as a topic. An adventurers guild where you can post yourself as LFG, but mostly groups will be formed inside guilds. Yeah. Yep, 100%, because groups were so easy to get in group finders. It allowed people to be dicks as they didn't like. Exactly. There was a lot less like you'll never see them again anyway kind of thing, right? So there was a less reason to be respectful to each other, and people just be rude for no reason. Wouldn't mind a karma system too, that players could upvote your performance. Only if they can upvote it. I would say only if they could upvote it, because I don't want to be able to downvote anything, because then people are just going to abuse that.
Mass report.
Mass report. You take a survey after LFG group. Oh gosh, no thanks. Yeah, no downvote, exactly. All right, so Market UI lists the current items available for sale in the node and in the same economic region. This includes items for sales and player stalls and auction houses. Ooh, this is all on the bulletin boards. Okay. Players can't purchase directly from the Market UI. Instead, it gives a location of the player stalls where the items may be purchased. Ooh, okay, kind of like a map. This encourages localized grouping, enable posting of jobs, and quest sponsorship. And I would like to do a deeper dive on bulletin boards at some point. I think that'd be really fun. But yeah, I think group finders are going to be really interesting. And there's also some different job types. I feel like those would be good to go back over. But in general, I think I would prefer what they already have planned, right? Go through your node chat, talk to them through that, look for a group that way, you know, tell them what you're looking for. I prefer that, or a bulletin. I like the bulletin board. That's really unique. I wonder if there's going to be like different tabs on the bulletin board. But yeah, I don't know. I like it. But
Yeah, I agree. I still would like to be able to view the board from anywhere in the node. Like, let's say I'm getting my rocks crushed by squeaky rock crusher guy, and I just want to check up on what's available right now, what people are looking for. I want to be able to like. I would ideally like to have that menu, that UI option available to me, and then, but in order to sign up, I would have to actually message the person or go to the bulletin board. I think would be
yeah.
ideal.
Yeah. Ooh, Basil, great question. Basil says, would a group finder even be a thing needed for Ashes if there's no instance dungeons? And the answer to your question to me is yes. Why? Hi, I don't like PvP.
Yeah, you're still gonna have.
Hi, I don't like PvP, but I might want to go out and go gathering herbs or go fishing. Or maybe I heard that there's this low level boss somewhere. Maybe it's just a red name, right? Maybe not to mock himself, but like a simple red name, and I need some more healing. I need to look for a group for that, right? Ishak, exactly. Since she's on screen. But what were you gonna say, Nuclear?
My internet's been kind of spotty, so I was kind of being quiet. But yeah, I was just going to answer the question. I definitely think it needs a group finder, a party builder of some sort.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. But I don't know who else is streaming. I would like people to be able to post on the board about wanting to do caravans together as well. That would be a good use of it as well, I think. Wanting to plan out a caravan and needing a group to help defend. I could totally see that happening.
Yeah, that way you can vet them, and maybe additionally that menu will let you see their highwayman score or their bandit score or whatever.
I do like that as well. Yeah. I think that would be really, really cool to see. Let's see here. I'm gonna raid us over to Nice and no one else. Yeah, I was gonna say, I figure I'll go ahead and raid us over to Nice. I think we raided no one else last week. I do want to do a call out to somebody who is kind of newer within the Ashes community. He's playing catch up right now on commissions as well. His name is Droog. He's going to be on our show actually in April. So pretty soon here tonight, I will have, for the subscribers, I'll have your April list of all of our guests coming out, and Quirian is going to be our final guest for March. So very excited for that. And thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. And I apologize. Thank you for bearing with me and convincing me to not be stressed out. I did my best, and it looks like I forgot to actually record this entire thing. So I guess I'll be downloading it from Twitch after this. But it's been a day. Tomorrow will be better, I promise. And we'll have Quirian on, and we'll have lots to talk about, including let me see if I can give you guys a little bit of sneak peek. Also, let me know, do you guys want us to do Tavern Talks on Tuesday instead? Because I mean, the alliteration is kind of perfect. Tavern Talk Tuesday. But let's see. I think we're going to be talking about game environment tomorrow, a little bit of gaming environment tomorrow. So very excited. But yes, send nice and is there no one else? Love with me as we read over and spread the Ashes love to other content creators. And thank you so much for hanging out with me. And thank you, Nuclear, for being our honorary patron tonight and chatting with me.
Yeah, of course.
And
thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. We will be back tomorrow, and Tavern Taco Tuesday. We'll be back tomorrow with our main podcast, and we'll reminder not be here next week. So we'll see you, if not tomorrow, in April. Bye.
Bye.